Good. There we go. Good morning, y'all. We're having technical difficulties over here just a little bit. I'm so happy to be back. We have been here in a while. I want to welcome everybody to Black Multiverse, and we are here today to still up with Grow Approval. Black Multiverse is a organization that is dedicated to making sure that we can disrupt disenfranchisement in the present to preserve possibilities and potential in the future. So, my name is Nicole Maxwell, and I'm the CEO of Black Multiverse Enterprises. I am the founder of the Blackverse Metaverse community, in which the Black Multiverse is our home. I am also really excited to be the founder of MaxDistro, as well as the owner of Technikole Consulting. I'm also the hostess of the MetaMind Shift Show. Y'all tune in today because at 6 p.m. we are going live right here on MaxDistro Live, on Black Multiverse Live, on MetaMind Shift, the MetaMind Shift Show Live, and probably on MetaMind Shift to Go Radio too. We are going to be everywhere. At 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to be connecting with Dr. Tammy. So I am really excited about that. I've gotten to know Dr. Tammy quite a bit this last year, and I'm really excited for all of things she did do. I'm really excited. I don't think an hour is going to cut it, but we'll try to trim it down. Today, though, we are talking about skilling up. So when you think about skilling up, man, we have actually this quarter we have been able to skill up in so many different ways. The Global Fusion Program is one that we thankfully were introduced to, I want to say, in June, and really kick things off in September. I wanted to bring our community a way to learn in Web 3. Or I'm sorry, in Web 2. And the reason for that is to Google Calendar and Google Slides and Google Docs and Google Sheets. We have learned how to create projects. We've learned how to do some really cool and fascinating things. We talked about SEO. We had a partnership with Fred Brandon. We presented in partnership with Fred Brandon, who is also a Grow with Google community member and partner. And his community is the Flames Foundation. And so we were able to present with him about advanced analytics and how you can really take that and move forward for your business. So we have some really cool things that are going to be continuing on into 2023. We've got some new mottos for 2023. But you guys, I want to give you an opportunity. If you have not seen it, you are able to connect with us every Tuesday and Thursday, with the exception of life challenges. We had holidays on Thursday. We also had a virtual meeting so I was talking for a minute. But and so we are able to bring you today. We're going to be talking about how to design a entrepreneur. So I am somebody who spins up stuff like every other day. This is some new ideas I have. All in trying to create space for people to a different path. Um, so today we're going to talk about how to design. So when you're thinking about creating a new idea, you have a new project, or you want to do something that's a little bit out of pocket, and people aren't resonating with you, or you're not finding a way. This is how you do that. So today's session again is sponsored by our lovely network, and that is the Black Business Expo and Olympics, Black Multiverse Enterprises, and the we do. MaxDistro, so MaxDistro is a big shout out because we are getting out everywhere because of MaxDistro. Thank you for that. All different ways you're able to connect with us and connect with the MaxDistro family. There's actually probably about 50 more of you. There are over 50 different places where we distribute your broadcast and your podcast or your show, even your webinar now. So we have some really cool things that we are able to do. So connect with us if you want to get your podcast seen on a different scale. All right. So today we are talking about design thinking. So what do you think about when I say those words? Thinking for design thing for entrepreneurs. What are you thinking about when those types of terms come into play? I am going to go ahead and we're going to start our presentation today. Oops. Hold on just a second. I did the wrong thing. All right. So you guys, when we are thinking about the future, we are thinking about all these cool ideas. So this is our live stream. And today you're going to be learning about the principles of the design thinking process, how to apply that process to create your innovative solutions for any problems that you have identified as a creator. And so those are really cool ways that you're going to be able to show up. So we're showing you how to not only show up, but also how to identify some of these solutions, as well as create the solutions for those and get them out for people. We want this to be as helpful as possible to you. So if you have questions, feel free to type them into the chat. If you are following along after the original broadcast, if you are watching us on Hulu, on Roku, on Blackverse TV, if you're watching on blackmultiverse.live, I want you to take 2 seconds and do me a really quick favor. I am about to drop a whole bunch of cool information for you that is going to be extremely useful. I do this as a complimentary segment of my day because I want to make people aware of how they can do different things and be better. Please do me a favor and go out and like and subscribe, follow, and then share the information that you are receiving today. So I want to say hello to the LinkedIn family. I want to say hello to our YouTube family, to those who are watching on Twitch, as well as those who are watching us on Twitter and any of our other locations. Hey, y'all. Hey, I can't say all of them because, like I said, there's over 50. So we're going to take all of your questions. So if you have some questions, let me know in the chat. No matter where you are, I should be able to see that. And if I don't, you can always email me at info@blackmultiverse.io. That is info@blackmultiverse.io. All right, so we're going to be talking about the phases of design thinking. What are the phases of the design thinking process, and how can that process help you to more effectively build your products, your services, and those things that you have that are going to address the challenges of your target audience. Then we're going to go through each of those phases and talk about the process and how you can apply those concepts to your own ideas so that you can start to understand your audience, identify their challenges, and then craft and test those solutions that you're coming up with, okay? All right. So the first thing you're always going to want to do is, it is extremely helpful for you to open up a Google Doc. You're going to want to sign into your Google account. And if you do not know how to do either of those things, pause this video, stop, go to blackmultiverse.live and cruise through all of our previous trainings. You are going to see that there's a ton of different things there for you to tap into when it comes to learning how to do some of the stuff, so that you'll be able to do it on the fly. When somebody says, open up a Google Doc, you'll be that person that knows how to do that and can be called on to do some work when the time comes. All right, you're going to need to be signed in to your Google account to make sure that that you can get to your Google Docs and that they are saved in your Google Drive. If you don't have a Google account, you're absolutely able to sign up for one for free. So you can go to google.com, and then in the upper left right-hand corner, you're going to want to click, and then it'll prompt you and you can step through the wizard. You can also type in accounts.google.com/sign up. If you are an employer or if you are working for someone and that employer is currently using Google Workspace, you might have an email address, and that email address might not look like it's a Google account, but it actually is. It technically is. So be sure that you ask your administrator, your IT administrator, if you are using Google Workspaces, and it should be pretty apparent if you are, because you'll see things like Google Docs, you'll see things like Google Sheets and things like that when you're going to use your work tools, okay? Either way, just ask them and they'll be able to point you in the right direction. All right, so if you're following along on screen, just go ahead and click on the apps icon up at the top, and you're going to see all your little Google apps that come with your account. So most commonly, you are going to be accessing things like Gmail, Google Sheets, Google Slides, and you're also going to be able to access your Google Drive. That drive is extremely important. It's where all of your projects are going to be stored, okay? They're stored in a safe space called the cloud. We don't need to go over all of this because we've already done that before. Again, if you do not know what the Google Drive is, check out some of our previous trainings because we absolutely have gone through quite a bit of that, and take it step by step so that you can learn what you really need to learn. All right, from your Google Drive, you're going to click on New, and we're going to create a new Google Doc. And this is going to be a blank document. And then once you open that, it's saving to your Google Drive. All right. So let's talk. Design thinking. What is design thinking? Design thinking is a methodology that is used by designers to solve complex problems. So this approach has been used to brainstorm solutions like societal issues, like how do you get kids to eat healthy school lunches, as well as how to help well-established companies redefine their space in a fast-changing industry. Design thinking is something that's been around for a while, and we're going to learn all about it today. So you may use design thinking to come up with your business idea. If you already have a business, you're going to be able to use this methodology to help you improve an existing service, a product, or even your website. Design thinking isn't just for coming up with the next great product or business, but it should be also an important part of how you're connecting with your customers now and in the future. Now, what is technologically and economically feasible? That can change depending on your context. What you're able to create from as a student or as an entrepreneur over several years will be different from what you're able to create if you are in command of $1 million grant or $250,000 to make your dreams happen. So just be mindful that certain things will absolutely tailor what you're capable of doing, but there is no cost in being able to design, to think, nor is there a cost in being able to design something that you have thought of. Okay. So the most important thing to think about and to keep in mind when you're thinking about design thinking as a process is that it will provide you with a framework, and that framework is going to be useful even if you don't have a ton of resources available to you. We're going to talk about that later on in the workshop, all right? All right, so let's get started. So there are 5 phases. So implementations. I am an implementation consultant. Everything I do is in phases. So we have idea to concept to service delivery and launch. Like there's a bunch of phases in between there depending on the project, but those are kind of the inset and outset of a project. When you're thinking about design thinking, this is obviously at the very beginning. So let's talk about what this methodology is really all about. Design thinking is a process created by Stanford University and the company IDEO, and it is being successfully used to create small projects and bigger ones. So it doesn't matter which size your project is, you're going to be able to make use of this in determining the different 5 phases. Okay. So the methodology here includes 5 phases that you can see here on the slide. Number 1, empathize. In this phase, you will observe your ideal audience. You will engage them and immerse yourself in their challenges and their needs. Good design is all about understanding the needs of your users. Define. In a defining phase, you will be able to express the problem of your users in the form of their points of view. Ideate. In the ideation phase, you will transition from identifying problems to identifying solutions for those problems. Prototype. This phase is all about getting ideas out of your head and into the world. Test. The last phase is all about testing. You can create the last iteration of prototypes, test and learn and iterate. This is a continuous space of refinement. It is an ongoing process. In my world, we call this fluid. It is always changing, always going, always active, right? So it is subject to change at any point in time. Design thinking in our everyday lives. All right, so look at the concepts on screen. On television, foot-activated car doors, ride and home sharing. So the idea of like an Uber and Airbnb. We talked about what design thinking is and the phases of methodology, but how is design thinking being used in practice? There are products that you use every single day that were created using design thinking. Designers and innovators thought about you as a consumer, the needs and challenges that you had around your daily activities, and then they thought about products and services that you buy and use, and then they thought about how to make them better. All right. So let's look at some of those examples. Many of you are likely watching from an on-demand television. So either you are watching me on demand, you might even be watching me over on Amazon. So you're on Amazon Prime right now, watching us courtesy of PodTV. And also you could be listening to me on a podcast in any one of our various podcast partners, so Google Casts or even Audible, thanks to MaxDistro. So there are a lot of different places where you can be participating in this session right now. Many of you are watching. Now think about the challenges that television watchers had prior to the introduction of on-demand TV. You had to have perfect timing when your favorite show was going to come. Do y'all remember that? When your favorite show was going to come on, you had to have some really great timing. So you knew when that show was going to come home, you had to be home, you had to be sitting in front of the TV, and then eventually we got to the point where like you had to be sitting in front of the TV with a VCR and recording, and then we got into this space of on demand and being able to record. I remember when we first got our DVD and DVRs, right? DVRs first came out and it was like, oh my gosh, we got a DVR, and so like we can record All My Children or General Hospital, and like we can record it and then watch it after we came home from school because it came on while we were at school. So those are all different ways that technology has advanced. Now I can watch General Hospital whenever I want to. Sometimes they expire, sometimes they don't. But literally, I've been able to go back and watch, 30 years of Golden and Beautiful just because it's available now to you. You don't have to watch the program. No more accidental writing over a given special event that you need to have recorded. The wrong tape into the VCR, and now you don't have that memory anymore. You don't have those problems. Technology has evolved. On-demand services allow you to skip through the commercials altogether. You don't even like you have certain sometimes you don't know, but you're able to skip ahead to some scenes or rewind scenes in real time. All of those things are advances in technology that came from being able to make our lives easier, that came from people thinking about problems and just finding solutions for them, right? So you can be that person too. In the next example, almost all car owners can relate to the challenge that you're faced with when your arms are full of groceries, you got bags, you got 12 kids hanging around you, and you're trying to get your car door open or your trunk open, and it just won't work. If you apply the principles of design thinking into this scenario, you can see where consumers have improvised in other scenarios. What might you use to keep the front door of your home open when you have your hands full of groceries? Is that a feature you actually want? So me, that'd be a safety feature, but I understand that everybody's front door ain't like mine. Design thinking was applied to the invention of foot activated car doors when designers understood a common challenge for car owners and the resources that were available to them in these scenarios. A free foot. So, hey, I don't have any arms to open the door, but guess what? My foot can open a door. I just did this. I went down to my cafe to go get some coffee. And I didn't want to touch anything because I didn't have my hand sanitizer on me. So I was opening every door with my foot. And so the doors swing both ways. So I was able to use my foot while I was holding my coffee and my keys in my hand because I didn't want to touch anything. So that is absolutely a really cool way to think strategically and think as an innovator. You have it in you and you can be that person too. And I love that. All right. So the final example is ride sharing. Man, ride sharing has come into at least the US and taken us by storm. We have so many different applications that have spun off of ride sharing. We now, if you just look at Uber, you have Uber Eats, you now have DoorDash, you have all of these other really great kind of things. You now have the ability to like ride share a bicycle, technically speaking. Like that's rideshare, right? You rent out a bicycle. So there's different iterations of variations. Now we're seeing that not only can you do Airbnb, which is just home, people said, hey, let me go ahead and do air car and car. So like now you have these services like I want to say it's Maverick, but it's a service where like you can literally rent out your car, and you don't have to worry about too much. You know, so, I don't know if it's going to be out. But as long as you know you're you're able to do certain things within the framework that were not common before. Renting out your home was not common before. You might rent out a bedroom, or you might, put people on lease, but just having random strangers in your room 1 week at a time, that meant you were boarding, right? Like you had to have certain licenses in place for that. Like that was not common, and it was more of the hotel style, like a what do they call those? A bed and breakfast kind of thing. But now we've got Airbnb, and so literally everybody is renting out a space to be able to have it and be able to have people enjoy their homes while they're traveling, right? All right, so let's talk about the process. Let's get started. All right, so phase one, empathize. We are going to empathize. The first step in design thinking is to establish some empathy. Y'all, now listen, empathy is the ability to understand and share the feeling of another person. Some of us are not empathetic people. If we want to focus on the user, though, our goal should be to first connect with the user's story, their insights, and their emotions. So you got to be able to put yourself in someone else's shoes. If you are not the person that can do that, then this might not be the methodology that's right for you. You can still be an innovator, but design thinking does require that you have the ability to step inside of someone else's shoes. When you're doing that, you want to define who your user is. Now, sometimes that word is not appropriate for the certain things that we're going to be creating. A user in this sense, though, we're thinking about the user. This would be the technological sense of the user. So this is the person or population that you are hoping to build a solution for. Just as user may not be the correct term for certain things, target is also sometimes seen as a word that we probably don't want to use. So when we're thinking about things, you decide the correct term for what it is that you're creating. And when you're targeting people, that usually makes you a predator, and there's usually some prey up underneath there. So think about that, especially when you are talking about the types of things that impact communities and disenfranchised communities, especially when you're calling them targets, that can rub off the wrong way. All right. So when you're identifying the user, you want to be as specific as possible. Add more descriptors. So like, don't just say parents, but be specific, niche it down. So parents of toddlers, parents in New York City, parents in America, or parents around the world that have dogs. So you can make that really, really specific, right? It's important that you understand who your user truly is. If you're looking for a solution for, say, let's say like college admissions, you can quickly say that your users are going to be high school students and high graduates. But when you think about it, your user probably might actually be those parents of those high school graduates, right? So about who your really, really is. Sit down and sit with this for a second, because this makes all the difference, and you're going to use it down the road, right? So once you get your roadmap created, you're going to continue to use this, and then you're going to use it again when you begin to market out to these folks. So make sure that you understand who that person is. And so, all right. Yeah, so we also want to say that, think empathetically about things, all right? think about the way you may have described your users or your target audience in the past. So sometimes that includes things like your demographic information. So your gender, your age, your nationality, who is on your radar. Sometimes we only consider one characteristics of a person, such as a professional, a working woman, or a parent. Sometimes we say single people. So when it comes to your users, you want to be as specific as possible so that you absolutely understand the audience and what makes them tick. You're going to go dig and do some research. So you're going to be digging deeper. You're going to want to create a solution for them that will enable them to jump on the chance to benefit from what you want. So let's take a look at some users. All right. So I don't like saying this, but target audience. I would rather say community, right? The community that I'm going after. So if I have an issue with the term target audience. So that's my bag. And I'm okay saying that. But when it comes to BIPOCs, women of color, men of color, people of color, anything, I do not like the term target. So my audience or my demographic or my community of people that I'm going after is going to be X, Y, and Z. So let's say that we're going with women of color or Black women. There is a humongous group of us out there, right? Like, so why stick with just that big old humongous group? Maybe you're looking for people inside of that group, right? We all don't act the same. We don't all move the same. We don't all have the same fluidity, right? So maybe you're looking for someone with natural hair, or maybe you're looking for someone who is college educated or someone who is in the technology space. Having a more direct audience or a direct line to your audience will help you to describe them, to understand them. And so you can also niche it down even further by saying something like women of color who are looking for products without added chemicals or toxins, or the no lie relaxer community, or women of color who are needing to use natural products due to health or allergy concerns, or women of color who have been impacted by unprofessional physicians. You may have a handful of something that is a very specific audience, and these details will help to market to them in a better way, right? All right. Another example of this is parents. The parents here, you likely know that there may be a huge difference between parenting between a newborn, a toddler, and a teenager, right? Like, so there's a whole bunch of little phases in between there that those little children go through. But there is something to be said for each of them having their own quirks and needs, right? You may offer a nanny service, right? So let's say that you're building up your business is a nanny service. If you are offering that, you could decide that your audience is parents of young children who are not yet in school. That takes care of the toddler, the newborn. That becomes your specific niche. Or perhaps you want to be a nanny for parents who are working in high demand. So that's who your target audience is. You speak their language because you come from the corporate world and they are available to you, right? Maybe you want to market your products or your services to seniors. So let's not forget about our older community. So seniors who are over the age of 70. How can we get more specific? So let's say that your product or service to seniors who will, oh look, it would help you to redefine your marketing efforts to seniors over the age of 70 in single member households who are not in assisted living or who are not living in a living home facility, things like that, right? So, or seniors who do not have young adults to take care of, no family. So those are guys we have, especially with this. Like, I just want to let you see this for a minute. So when you're thinking of products right now, we have a very appreciate you. Um, so we have a very large number of users who are going to be entering into the elderly space, right? So they are now considered elders. And those elders are people that we need to care for in many different ways. And a lot of times when we say we need to care for our elderly community, that ends up meaning that, either they're going to go to a home or their children are going to take care of them. But when we're developing solutions, we need to think about the people who don't fit in either of those niches, right? So what about single people? As you are single, if you have chosen to stay single or have lost a loved one, you are potentially a widow entering elderly age. You don't have kids. So there are people who need care in that way too. So be mindful of all these great things because they are ways that you're going to be able to think about your creations, your innovations, and get them out there to the people who can really, really use them. So you might be thinking, hey, depending on your business or your idea, your users can be from all walks of life, and they might not even fall into just one demographic. That can be true if you're, let's say, an online counselor or if you own a shoe repair business. So it's true in a wide variety of different venues, right? In this case, you're going to be thinking about what makes your audience unique. What qualities or interests do your users have that would draw them to your product or to your service? And then you're going to find a niche that makes you unique inside of that. For example, maybe your shoe repair business offers 24-hour turnaround for repairs. Your ideal users might be including business travelers or people with an important event that are coming up. If you already have a business and you're unsure of who your users might be, that can be problematic for you and might help you to determine who your sales or help you determine something that may be going on with your sales. So check out tools like Google Analytics, and that's going to help you to learn more about your actual audience. So head on over to the video that we did a couple weeks ago. In fact, the video that we did with Fred Brandon and the Flames Foundation showed how to use Google Analytics to make some business decisions. So let's do an activity. In this activity, you're going to step into the shoes of your user base or your community, and you're going to brainstorm at least 5 challenges that they might have. You're going to first try to specify who these users are. Who are they? We just talked about this. Really put yourself into their shoes of your selected population, and then emphasize that. Still, you're going to have to practice if you don't know how, but empathize with their day-to-day. Brainstorm all of the possible obstacles that they might be coming. Pause this video and go ahead and use your Google Docs to write down some of those communities, what their potential challenges are, and ideas that you might have to help them get through. All right. If you feel like you're getting stuck, just start in the morning through the evening. So like go through their day. So like I am this person. I am a 3-year-old. What does my day look like? Right? Like I wake up and nobody's there, and I jump out of my crib. What does that look like? And then begin to like walk around the house and create solutions for food. Um, and like it's a really fun activity for some things, not so fun for others. So maybe you're designing something for survivors of domestic violence, or you're designing something for the homeless. Step into their shoes and really, sometimes this takes research. So maybe you'll find somebody you're not really apathetic or empathetic with certain activities, and go find somebody who is actually living this life and see what they need. Like, what are their challenges and how can we do all those things? So next up, we're going to talk about phase two. Phase two is define. Okay? So in the design thinking process, and now define what our problem is. We're going to define a problem statement. So now that you've stepped into the shoes of someone else, you now have a clearer understanding of what some of their issues are. And we're going to operationalize the problem. All right. To do this, we're going to focus on one core problem from each of our list of challenges that we created for our user. This core problem can be a synthesis of the list, or at least one that just stands out the most. Like, this is what we absolutely have to do. Using this core problem, we will be creating a problem statement. Well, what's a problem statement and why do we need it? Well, to be honest, the problem statement is going to be a succinct statement that clearly organizes: one, a characteristic of the user; two, the need or the core problem that you just identified; and three, insight into why the user is experiencing this. Developing a problem statement is critical in the design thinking process. So let's take a look at an example. All right, now this is a sample of a completed problem statement. Here we have our user, and we're going to use Sam. Sam can be short for Samantha. Um, the core problem is that they need to find a way to integrate healthy. The reason why they have this need is insight into the desire of not go out there on a diet. This problem statement is telling us that we need to help find some solutions that will integrate healthy habits with Sam without making Sam feel like Sam is on a diet. Is that clear? So we don't want Sam to feel like he's on a diet. Right? It can be tempting to try to insert solutions in the problem statement, especially because it's really easy because you already know what your solution is, right? And you like to trying to bring back that until we get to the next phase. We're going to be pulling out some of our empathy, and we're going to hone in on some of the true values of our users to tap into what their true needs are. Now I'm going to share an important tip with you. I always tell people to build the problem statement from the bottom up. The more insight you have in the emotions that are driving the needs of the better position you're going to be in for the next step, which is ideating, right? So think about it like this. Instead of saying, Sam needs to learn about the experience nutrition to get a better eating experience during lunch. Yes, we all know we should eat lunch, but why so many diets? Why do they all fail? There's a lot of emotion and frustration in that feeling that you have when you give up all the yummy food that you just absolutely love. We need to know how to eat better. We know that we need to eat better. We don't want to feel like we're on a diet. That's too much. Nobody's going to follow that. It's going to get convoluted and your message is going to be lost and people are going to move on to the next service. So instead of that, try this. Sam is a busy manager who needs a way to integrate healthy eating habits into his daily life because he doesn't want to feel like he's on a diet. Change the pronouns as needed, right? So there are so many different ways that you can do this, but this was a very concise and succinct, direct statement as to why or what problem Sam is having. Okay. So that's how you need to do it. Okay. So your turn. Take a few minutes, pause this video if you're watching us on replay. You're going to problem statement. Think back to your notes on your user base. Who are your users? What are their issues? What are their challenges? What are they coming up with right now? Synthesize those challenges into a core problem that you're going to address for your user base. Turn it into a problem statement. All right, so think about that. Think about how you can define in your words, your problem statement. So you're going to add in the who, the what, the why, All right. Okay. Pause if you need to and just continue that, and then come back and unpause and we'll keep going. All right. So let's go on to the third phase. This is the stage I love, I think, the most. This is ideating. How do we ideate? Like, what is that? What does that even mean, right? So now you've been able to empathize with our chosen user. You've analyzed, synthesized those observations to define a problem. You've outlined what that problem is. You've turned it into a problem statement. Now it's time to create some ideas. This is the phase where we're going to talk about all the possible solutions that come to mind, right? Also known as brainstorming. All right. So here's a popular ideation activity. Google actually uses this quite a bit in their design sprints. So technology, we always have something called sprints. Those are given periods of time where we're focused on a specific activity, a targeted goal, right? So for crazy eights, using a Google Doc, you're going to insert a 2x4 table. You do that by clicking on insert in the top navigation bar, and then you're going to hover over the word table, and you'll see another menu that's going to pop out with some blocks on it. You're going to choose two to the left, two to the right, sorry, and then you're going to go down 4. So go 2 and 4. That'll give you a grid that is 2x4. If you prefer, you could handwrite this. So if you're not somebody who uses technology like this, you can go ahead and write this down. So fold a piece of paper into 8 rectangles on each of the sections. That's going to be the equivalent of a cell. So you're going to do 2x4 that way. You'll have 8 new ideas when you get done with this. Okay. So in each of the fields, you are going to write out a different idea on how to solve your user's problem. You're going to have 8 ideas when you get done, and maybe you'll have one idea with 7 ideas that help you to get that idea done strategically. The point here is to practice letting loose and creating as many ideas as you can. Don't worry about feasibility right now. Like, don't worry about whether or not, oh my God, that's going to cost too much, or oh my gosh, this is going to take like 50 people to get this done. You can work on that later. Just get the idea out there. Blue sky thinking is encouraged. All right. So the beauty of this process is that we can let our mind go wild. Let's go back and discuss a few of our examples. First off, you mentioned a group of women looking for all natural hair. Right now, you may have what you want in mind. You don't know. The second trend, maybe your vision is very clear. Maybe it's not. In the ideation phase, you are able to get out some ideas, and that will help you determine if your idea actually will fit. And also see all the different ways in which you could contribute to your own idea. It's all about considering all the different ways in which you can help offer a solution to your first thought might be to create an all natural hair care line. On the other hand, you may not consider even offering to this user group, and instead, you alleviated the challenge by finding all natural hair care products through a database or an app that you're going to create. Ideas might be able to open an actual hair salon where you only use all natural hair care products. Okay, so those are 3 different ways that this answer could show up. One of our other examples was of a potential user group. We didn't talk about this one, but Latinx college students that are looking for temporary housing. So think about Latinx college students who are looking for temporary housing. What are they going to need? What are they looking for? What are the specific needs of the culture, of the community, and of the parents of these children? The first idea that might come to mind might be creating an online roommate matching service, right? Like we've seen those. But this one is specifically designed for Latinx community members. If you'd like to consider going the product route, you may consider investing in buildings that are designed to help create culture around the Latinx community, offering temporary rentals to this group of users. The fun part of ideating is that we can really think outside the box. Like I always say that, like when I'm thinking about the metaverse and the multiverse, I always think about getting outside of the four walls that I'm trapped in, right? Because the sky is the limit. I don't have any limitations when I'm in this of ideation. You don't have any limitations. You're just writing. Like you are not limited in any kind of way. So just get it out there. Now you see that the ideation phase can open up your mind to new and different ways of solving problems specifically for your target audience or your community. Ideally, the recommended practice is to have an unlimited amount of time to engage in an unrestricted brainstorming during this phase. But for the purposes of today's session, I'm going to pause and you're going to pause. And when you get ready, you're going to unpause and we're going to keep moving, right? So I want you guys to take a note, jot down 2 or 3 of your best ideas, and then come back. If you're watching later, though, you can go ahead and pause it, come up with the full 8 of your ideas, and then come back and unpause. Now, next up, we're moving on. Now we got an idea. We've got our problem statement. Now we're going to talk about the prototype. So what is a prototype? Anybody? Anybody know what a prototype is? If you know what a prototype is, throw that in chat so I see it. How do we know if these solutions that we've outlined in the last exercise are going to work? We prototype. A prototype is going to be inexpensive. It's a scaled down version of the solution created on the previous design ideation stage. You're going to build prototypes one by one. They're either accepted, they're improved, or they're re-examined or rejected based on the user's experience. Remember, this is an experimental stage. You aren't trying to create the workable product here. You're just trying to create something that's very similar to what you're trying to shoot for. This step is very critical as you're testing out your ideas to help you gain as much feedback as possible from your potential users. Through the prototyping process, you'll gain a better understanding of the constraints that are within this product and feature. And then you're also going to be able to identify problems that you may not have. You also have a more informed perspective of how real users are going to react and feel about the final product when they interact with the prototype. Did you know that this can also be used for your services, whether you're a consultant or a coach? Like you can use the same type of product to make sure, same type of design process to make sure that your ideas are fleshed out. Once you've collected enough data from the prototyping stage, this is where you create the MVP. MVP, the minimum viable product. It is not most viable player, but in this case, it technically is. The MVP is your minimum viable product. That is what we call the simplest, easiest, quickest, and dirty form of your product that is workable. That is developed with your core features. It's going to satisfy early adopters, but it also provides the lowest risk. That means that the MVP should be quick to develop, especially when you're still providing the basic functions that you want. You'll find a group of early adopters of what we call the users are thinking. They're going to be eager to try something new, and you're going to ask them to be looking and thanking them for participating in the program. This is something to thank them for their minute of their time. For their All right, so on this picture, let's say your goal was to create a vehicle that could take you from point A to point B. In the top example, there are 5 boxes that represent each iteration of the prototype. The first iteration contains the image of a wheel. The second is 4 wheels, 2 axles. The third is merely the base of the vehicle. The fourth is built out with no steering wheel. And the last is a fully built out, fully functioning vehicle. Now, there's not much you can do with just a vehicle or 2 wheels with an axle. You can have some fun with it, maybe in a junkyard or something, but not as far as driving it as a car, right? So the body of a car without a wheel and without an engine is only as viable as it's sitting there looking pretty, right? What's really viable is the fully functioning vehicle with all the bells and all the whistles. In the bottom example, we focus on an MVP that solves the problem of our audience in the simplest way, getting someone from point A to point B. All right, so that's the better way to do it, right? So when we start off, the first image is a skateboard. Yes, we have skateboards that are automated now. So a skateboard, which we know is going to help get us from A to B. For each step in the prototyping process, you make iterations to the initial product as you're getting feedback from about what works and what doesn't work. In the second iteration, you're going to decide to change up slightly. So it's not going to be a skateboard anymore. Now it's going to be a scooter. Going on, it becomes a bicycle. Moving on from there, it becomes a motorcycle. And then from there, we decide, hey, now we've got us a fully functioning truck or a car, right? So now we need to have we need to be covered in the weather, and so it gets us to the point where now we have a covered option here. All right. Now, your minimum viable product is not your end goal. Okay, so your end goal is not that. It's one of the many steps that are going to get you to your final goal, your established product. But to get to that point, you're going to do what I'm sure sounds very familiar to you now in the design thinking process. You're going to iterate and then iterate again and keep doing that. It is a cycle. You keep spinning it up and eventually you get there. Keep testing your product or your service race and follow the feedback. Maybe this is going to lead you to more changes and enhancements. Maybe it takes you backwards to remove certain features altogether. What's important here is that you are staying flexible and you're listening to the needs of your user base. You're creating the best and most well-deserved version of your product and or your service. All right, so we can't possibly prototype here in this specific course today, but you're going to want to sit down and think about options for a prototype. Pick one of your feasible ideas out of the case that you came up with and flesh out how you would build this out, fill out the solution, and include the technology that's needed, the time that's needed, the money that's needed, and the resources that you must already have. Finally, and last but not least, right? So you're going to enter this testing. This is the final stage of the testing. You will be practicing this thing together. But if you were to implement the design thinking process in real life, you definitely want to test out the solution, evaluate, and then depending on how that evaluation goes, you may or may not have to go back and rinse and repeat like we did that all the time. Testing, though, is an iterative process. You find what works, what doesn't work, you throw stuff out, you bring stuff back in, and you find what really meshes. It means that you're continuing to go back. You are continuing to make change, tweak some features, and in some cases, you're even going to decide to scrap a solution altogether for something else that's been developed during the prototyping stage. All right. So now that you've learned the different phases of the design thinking process, you might be wondering, how can you to make a new idea successful, or to take an existing business or product and tailor it to the changing needs of your customers in today's. So look at an example. Sunrise Coffee. Giovanni Romero, a former barista, opened up her first coffee shop on the first day of the Great Recession of 2008. Woo. She now owns 3 cafes. While Giovanni was initially hesitant to tackle new digital tools, her online presence became critically more important during the COVID pandemic and when that hit and came to her city over in Vegas. She knew she needed a way to keep her companies relevant for the coffee shop and its employees and the community. Giovanni had to look at the changing needs of her customers, her employees, and her business. This also brought about some new importance in supporting her customers, and those first responders' work was critical to the health of their community. Giovanni took her business almost entirely digital by selling her sustainably sourced coffee beans online. She also added a web function that allowed visitors to donate coffee to first responders and healthcare workers. She would then kick in a couple of extra bags for each one that was donated. She was amazed at the response. Customers started flocking in droves and buying her coffee online. The media took notice as well. That sense of community and a desire to help others in the time of need was a new importance to Giovanni and to her customers. She redesigned her business to support that need by leveraging new tools to deliver a different type of product and a service to her audience. Wow. So, first of all, congratulations to Giovanni. And that concludes the 5th stage of the design thinking process. So let's think about this. So there are 5 different stages. So what stages do you remember? Empathize. You're going to put yourself in someone else's shoes. Define, where we express a core problem in the form of a point of view. So you're going to define that problem statement. Ideate. You're going to come up with a list of ideas. We're transforming from the identification of a problem into brainstorming for solutions. Prototype. Bringing out the ideas from our head and putting them into the real world. And then finally, you're going to test. So the testing stage takes us to the next iteration of prototypes to continuously improve our MVPs, or our minimum viable products, by testing, learning, and iterating over and over and over again. Give yourselves a pat on the back for following along. We had a really great working session today. So I am really excited to have been able to present this to you today. We do have some resources. So first of all, I want to say that when you are looking at this on YouTube or later on Spotify, we are also going to make sure that you have access to some resources. So when you're thinking about resources, first of all, there's a whole slew of, there will be a whole slew of discounts that you can go through to any of our affiliate programs. So one of them is Google Workspace. Another is there's a lot of things out there that help you be more productive in your business, like Asana, like Adobe. There are also several things there to help you if you're into Web3, like storage. And then, we also will have the Google Workspace resources. So I'm sorry, the Google Grow with Google Works resources that I'm about to go over with you. So first of all, if you enjoyed the video lessons, don't forget to like and subscribe no matter where you are watching. So if you're watching me on Twitter, I expect to see my Twitter count go up. I am Technikole, Technikole. There is no zero, there are no numbers, there is nothing. It is all letters. I am Technikole. My name is spelled Nikole. So don't get confused. Also, if you're following along on YouTube, you're going to go to MaxDistro.live. You get MaxDistro. That stands for maximum distribution and also stands for maximum. You're also going to be able to find us at blackmultiverse.live. Like and subscribe. finally, you'll be able to go out to grow with Google and connect with us there. If you're watching on Twitch or if you're watching us on LinkedIn, you can make sure you're clicking that like follow button and this channel is on Grow with Google is publishing a new video every single Thursday. So just like we're doing on-demand training and live training, so you have every Tuesday and Thursday training and training with me here at Black Multiverse. Grow with Google also publishes a new video every week. So you go out here on Thursday, get twice a day, right? All right, so if you're looking to start a new career, first of all, Black Multiverse Enterprises is hiring. We're going to have a brand new set of jobs coming up here at the beginning of the year. For right now, I have an urgent need for sales professionals interested in selling in podcast and broadcast and live stream broadcast space. So if you are looking to skill up and you want to go ahead and get your digital marketing certifications, or you're looking to get started in IT support, project management, UX design, data analytics, or e-commerce, come and talk to me. Send me a note, ping me, hit me up on email at info@blackmultiverse.io, or you can also, if you're not interested in a job, you can also reach out to Grow with Google. Go to Grow with Google, grow.google, and that will allow you to get connected with Sarah. And it's a very low-monthly fee and pay to get part of the Grow with Google program. You get some Google career certifications and other skills that I've already indicated. There are organizations, not just my own, a lot of organizations out there um, that are absolutely sharing different ways to be connected and get to the those programs. We have a lot of Growth People is an initiative to help prepare people for work, find jobs, and grow their business. Job seekers are able to grow their skills in advance, in order to advance and to advance in your career. So if you are working for someone right now and you're having trouble, getting up to the next level, you don't have to be the same with a great destination. You can do that quite a bit right now. People are also going to work. So depending on where you are, what your life looks like, that might be a little bit different for you. Either way, it has never hurt anybody to have additional skills to make you more viable. Having skills allows you to come in at a better than entry level space. Okay? Now you can claim all the wonderful skills and tasks you actually have. If you are someone who is interested in going to those types of schools, you also have the ability to get certification for it from a company such as Google. There's nothing wrong with that. That's absolutely fantastic. Everybody's doing it. I'm even doing it. Digital marketing is not my bag, but I am learning about some of these things because I need to get my vision to where it's going. So I need to be able to do certain things in order to make my vision happen. You guys, that is available to each and every one of you. I want to take a minute and we're going to do some love on our sponsors. So first of all, this continues to go with people, the growth of the session. So absolutely appreciate Google. Black Multiverse is, I'm very proud of Black Multiverse is a Grow with Google partner. We have partnered with Google to make ourselves, not only ourselves, but our community stronger, to equip them with skills. We partnered with Google back in July, somewhere around there, I think it was July. Within our first 100 days, we were already a gold standard, high impact performing partner. Thanks to sessions like this here. Boop, boop, boop. Grow with Google. Thank you, Grand Wu, for being here. We appreciate you. We see you. We love that you're in the comments supporting that you're doing. Grand Wu makes fantastic music for Web3, and you can find him all up and down the blockchain and over on Formless. You can take a listen, rent out some of his music, and then buy it when you find the track that look up all things Grand Wu, and that's Capital Grand and also, you guys, I want to just talk about, Black Multiverse. So um, we have come up here as blackmultiverse.live. We're going to continue with this for the last week of the year, obviously for Christmas, for Christmas holidays, in session, and I'm not sure what's going on with my camera because it is continuing to I hope that you can hear me. Also, we are having lots of great things coming up. We have the Black People's Hall of Fame that Black Multiverse is putting out. We also in the metaverse, y'all. Black Speakers Hall of Fame in the metaverse. That's really important. We also are very proud of MaxDistro. You can find us at maxdistro.store. That is where our store is. We're going to go through there and to my Blackverse community because Blackverse community, we are going to have t-shirts for Blackverse out on the next store. We also will have a mind show t-shirts there as well as Black Multiverse. So you are a student of Black Multiverse and you have gone to Black Multiversity or Black University, you are going to be able to tap in with us and that Black University is a name that I acquired last year and thanks to People Jones and it is a idea that is coming into fruition. That out there very soon. With our Black collection that we did last year, Black and the Black University is out there. It's on the we also have a whole lot of things coming up. 2023. It ain't that's what the mantra is we're heading into. I mean, t-shirts that resonate with that theme. There's going to be a lot more that's coming. Teams out there on the t-shirts really ways to kind of set the year and there's a lot of really cool things on the horizon for MaxDistro. Shout out to Zach Robertson, who is one of the song masters of funk, and he is creating great things as we know it. If you are fans of music, I would definitely put you up with Zach at any point in time. That's really, really great things. We have some folks down in North Carolina who are recipients of grants who are looking to create some documentaries that are doing wonderful things out there with our kids and cyber robotics and social justice and trying to make sure that the Black community is seen. We are coming up with all sorts of amazing things. So Web3, look at me, look at me. Web3, 2023. As we are coming into things, we are looking for partners. So I don't say that too often. I always love on my sponsors because we know that I appreciate you, our in the office. Love you, amazing, and everything to Multiverse, to the testing center for thank you to my board of directors for Black Multiverse. Thank all of them. I could not have been here single everyone who has supported me in Blackverse, the metaverse community. Y'all know the real deal, you know the real story, and you know the realities trying to push forward decentralization. I appreciate all of you. I appreciate every single room that you've come into, every movie night that you've participated in, every conversation that we have explored and kind of opened minds with all of my customers in Meta Mindshift and my customers in technical consulting. Thank you. So I don't know, it's that kind of year. It's that time of year where you just say thanks. And that is what I do very well. And when you are a business owner, it's important that you thank the people who have helped you. So if you have tapped in with me at any point in time this year, thank you. To all of our listeners, thank you for listening. Thank you. Get out there, create some ideas. This is probably one of the most important sessions that we've done. Technology can only go so far. You can learn technology. You can learn a lot of different things. But what is really hard to learn is how. If you are a decentralized innovator like me, keep going. That is my message to you. Keep going, don't stop, because it is very important that we are seen. It is important that we have a space and a place to go to. And so, yeah, I'm getting emotional. This year is almost over, y'all. I'm so excited for 2023. Very excited this afternoon, this evening to be tapping in with Dr. Tammy Francis. We're heading on over to the Meta Mindshift show, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that is going to be a wrap. Google says it's 12 o'clock, so we are right on time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Keep innovating. This is Nicole, and my voice is resting.